Joining me now is author and political commentator Shamika Michelle.
When God looked at man, he said it's not good for man to be alone. He gave him a woman. He didn't give him a village. He didn't give him the community. He said, be fruitful and multiply to this man and this woman. So it's supposed to be God, husband, wife.
If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always done. Hello, and happy Thursday. Welcome to Shaking My Head with Shamika Michelle. And of course, you know, this week and last week, we did the war on words. Yesterday was a pretty spicy show. I really enjoyed it because there was a little debate going on in the chat, and I was a little fired up. I told you all tomorrow I will not be here. And so today we're going to do a wrap up. We're just going to go through all of the things that we talked about last week and this week and the important points that we pulled from those, and just remind everybody that it's very important that we stand 10 toes down when it comes to language and not allowing them to change the language, because when the words change, the truth dies. Yesterday, people said you need to do part 2 tomorrow when it came to safe spaces, because yesterday just wasn't a safe space. I hope Earl Grey the Bay, you missed it. I don't think you were here yesterday, and let me tell you, you missed a good one. For anybody that missed yesterday, please go back and listen to it. It was really, really, really good. It just wasn't a safe space, though, for everybody, including me. I had someone in the chat that was constantly coming at me and telling me I wasn't being deep enough because I didn't see that all the problems Black people had were actually white people's faults. And I was saying, you know, well, how deep do I need to go? Because I don't want to be sitting around sad, depressed, miserable, and feeling like, you know, everybody hates me in order to, you know, go deep. I don't want to do that. But it was a really good show, and it ended with someone telling Thomas Bailey, who was one of our regulars, to kiss their yellow behind. They didn't say behind, but it was just a really spirited show. So it was really good. But again, I'm just going to talk to y'all today. I want you all to drop in the chat what you learned for the last 2 weeks. Some of the things that stuck out to you, I'm going to go back through those. And I just want to know what kind of stuck with you over the last 2 weeks and during this wrap up. So I just want to remind everybody that these aren't just words. They shape our culture, our laws, and our lives. So starting with week 1, we covered thick. We talked about how a lot of people are obese, overweight, and they're glorifying it. They're glorifying the unhealthy bodies. We discussed how obesity contributes to heart disease, which is the #1 killer of women. And when it comes to Black women die. They have a 67% higher chance of dying from heart disease. So we really just got into the actual statistics and what's really real behind the word THICC. Just letting people know that removing the K and adding a C is not removing the fat, and it's not removing the danger from being overweight. That conversation came from the idea that people got mad at me when I said that 80% of Black women were overweight. They wanted to argue. And that's kind of how this whole conversation was birthed, because it was like a war on words. Like, that's truth. That's fact. I don't care how you feel about it. we're going to get down to what's really real. Last Tuesday, we talked about toxic masculinity, and that the truth is toxic masculinity is the absence of masculinity. When men have began to be weak and wussy, how men not being in the homes have had a really great effect, especially in Black homes. We talked about the fact that that's what toxic masculinity is, the actual absence of masculinity, and not men being protectors and providers and having honor and courage, because that's what true masculinity is. It's not what they've tried to shape masculinity as and what they have deemed as poisonous. So we learned exactly what masculinity is and how important it is, and how we have to reject the idea that it could ever be toxic. True masculinity is not toxic. And I gave y'all one of my favorite slogans, or something that I say all the time. If masculinity is toxic, then I want to be poisoned, because what they're trying to frame it as is not what it is. Masculinity is necessary. If we remove masculinity from our society as it is today, society would crumble. Hi, Melina. Where were you yesterday? You should have been here. Oh my God, it was so good. I'm sorry. It was just a spirited conversation. I'm actually trying to Earl Grey debate. If Lotus Flower shows up today, and if she wants to take me up on my offer to actually come on and do a panel, I would like you to actually come on if you're interested. Where are the people from yesterday? I don't know. It was a lot of back and forth in here, a lot of fighting going on. I assume they'll be here very, very shortly. I don't know about Lotus Flower. I may be on her shit list for a little while. I don't know, but perhaps she'll show up. Last Wednesday, we talked about my truth. Just letting everybody know that there's no such thing as my truth. Truth isn't personal. There's either the truth or it's a lie. We broke down how when they say my truth, it's really from their perspective, and what it really is experience. We covered the fact that truth has to be facts. It has to be something steeped in reality that you could actually prove. When you go to say my truth, when it's just wrapped in feelings, does not make it facts. So we discussed how important it is to actually stand against people saying my truth. Because at the end of the day, my truth is really just a lie. And we cannot allow them to continue to get away with that, because it's really hurting society. When we allow people to just make their own reality, they don't just want to live in their own reality. They want to bring us into their fantasy land. What it actually is, it's really a fantasy land, and they want to bring us into that, and it's not helping us. We gave a lot of examples for my truth versus the truth. We talked about men in dresses saying that they're a woman. That's when they could actually say that's my truth, but it's not the truth. You still aren't a woman. So we went over a lot of examples, and we came to the conclusion that there just isn't any such thing as my truth. It's your experience, but you can't call it truth, because truth is something that is true, and something that is true is proven with facts. It's something that can be proven. It's actual reality. So when they try to frame it as truth, it's not truth at all, and we have to fight back against that. Last Thursday, we talked about strong, independent women. We talked about strength without accountability is weakness. But we went a little bit further to let women know you actually aren't independent. Even if you feel like you're paying your own bills and you're not with a man who's actually taking financial care of you, there's no such thing. Not even just with women, but across the board, because no man is an island. We talked that most of us are interdependent. We need somebody for something. I talked on how women walking around saying they're independent. I hit a couple of types of women. I talked about those saying that they were independent, but they're actually dependent on the government. I talked about those who maybe had a great education and a great job, but still, if the pipes are messed up at home, you're going to call in a plumber who is typically a man. Typically, you get online and you argue that you're independent using technology and platforms that were built by other people, mostly men, so you're just not independent. No matter how much you try to say it, you're not independent of men and you're not independent of other people. That's something that we have grasped, started to nurse. That's just a lie. It's a lie from feminism that we all should reject. A lot of these things come from feminism, and we just have to reject those because it isn't real. Sharisa Jones says, hello, fellow head shakers. Hello to all the head shakers in the building today. Last Friday, we talked about reproductive health, and we came against the idea that number one, it's health, because it's not. And we came against the idea that annihilation in the womb cannot be reproduction, simply because to reproduce means to produce again. When you are preventing that, when you're stopping production from happening, you're not reproducing. You're not producing again. So we came against the lie and we said we were going to call it what it is. We looked at the definition of murder and we saw that murder meant killing someone unlawfully. So they've kind of skated past to say, oh, it's not murder because in many states it's lawful, but it definitely is killing. And I said for myself, it's annihilation in the womb, which is complete destruction. What we know for sure it is not is reproductive health care. And again, when you change the words, the truth dies, which is why so many women, I think it was 930,000 in 2020, committing annihilation in the womb, because we've really started to water it down, what it really is, and we're calling it something that sounds good, sounds comfortable, and sounds very sweet, like nothing harmful is happening. Reproductive health care. Well, we know that's a lie, and we know that we have to fight that particular phrase in the war on words, because it's absolutely no such thing. And what's really actually happening is disgusting, and it's happening a lot. On Monday of this week, we talked about gender affirming care and how that is a lie. You can't affirm something that's not real. And you can't change genders. We also talked about how it's harming children. They're doing this as young as age 13, allowing young girls to have mastectomies. We learned about how those who have gone through gender surgeries have a 19 times higher rate of suicide. So when they say things like gender affirming care, instead of calling it what it is, mutilation, they make it sound sweet and thereby escaping all of the negative things that come with that. When we allow children to go on puberty blockers, when we allow children to teenage girls to have mastectomies and little boys to skip puberty and not grow the way that they should and eventually have their penis cut off, we are harming them more than helping. I gave my favorite example about a little boy thinking that he could be Spider-Man, and how as adults we had to let him know that just wasn't true. So there's no reason for us to come and say, oh, we want to affirm them when they are deciding to change their gender. There's just no such thing. Just like we didn't push him out the window and say, let me see you scale the building, we should not be allowing kids to say, I want to be something different. Because not only can you not do that, it's harming them, and putting a soft label on it won't change that. Making it sound like something sweet and is as if you're actually caring for them does not hide the truth behind what it is. It's actually madness masquerading as medicine. And we have to win this war on words to let them know that's just not true. It's not care, it's not helping you, and you can't change. We went in on Tuesday about sex work and how it's really exploitation disguised as empowerment. We went through the statistics of the women who typically lie if they're in relationships, but how most men, according to statistics, aren't interested in women who are sex workers. We talked about the depression they experience, the anxiety they experience, the physical harm a lot of them experience, and the isolation they feel because of what they do. We talked about how for most of them, they don't go on to live productive lives. Most of them don't get married and have children. And when they do have children, if they're still in the business, many times they lose those children. So although by definition, sex work is work, by definition, it's not empowering. And so we said we have to come against the lie that there's any empowerment in being a prostitute or a sex worker, because it's not powering you in your body or your mind or your spirit. It's not empowering you in your finances. It's just not empowering. So when they walk around actually saying that this is empowering and they're taking their bodies in their own hands, it's a lie. They're being fooled. And just like women who feel like they're strong and independent, just like men who feel like they can put on a dress and be a woman, it's delusion. It's complete delusion, and we're not buying into it anymore. We're not going to allow them to say it and call it something sweet sounding. We are going to stand together as head shakers and not just shake our heads when we hear this type of foolishness and silliness. We're going to speak up about it because we understand that it's a war on words. And we understand that if we allow people to embrace this language that's hiding lies, we will really lose hold of the truth. So there's a group of us this army that's saying, no, that's a lie. We aren't buying it, and we're not going to buy into it, and we're just not going to go along with it. We're not going to go along with you saying you're a they, them. We're not going to get tongue-tied and trying to figure out if you want to go by a single pronoun or plural pronoun. We're not doing it. Because we understand that it's a trick and it's an enemy to all of us. Yesterday, we came and we talked about safe spaces. And we talked about the fact that true safety is being overlooked. It's been overshadowed. We are valuing people's feelings being safe over people actually being safe, our physical bodies being safe, being able to leave the house and not having to worry about being hit over the head. We said we're going to stop being so focused on what they say is aggression and actually look at what aggression really is. We're not going to allow them to shut us up when it comes to them saying they don't want to be criticized, they don't want to be judged, they want to be their authentic selves without people telling them they can't be or telling them things they don't want to hear. They want to be in a safe space. We're saying no. What we really have to focus on is true safety. And while we are being distracted with your feelings, the crime rates are rising. I don't care how many times they come and say, crime is going down. We know that there's a lot of crime they aren't reporting in order to make this silly assertion. I actually live day to day, and I get to see or hear the stories. This 4-year-old was killed. This 16-year-old was killed. This 25-year-old was killed. So you can tell me all day long, oh, crime rates are going down. Now let's focus on feelings. I'm not buying into it because I'm living life every day. And I'm not going to focus on the fact that you want to dress up in paws and dog ears and call yourself a furry, and I'm supposed to just accept that as being okay. We also said there were a lot of us in the chat or just in the discussion, because we played a Nick Fuentes video. We also said we are going to start holding people accountable because we are ashamed at what we're seeing. We do understand that Blacks are killing other Blacks at a greater rate, and we're not okay with it. We want to actually focus on the things that are keeping us from having genuine, real, safe spaces. Focusing on people, their bodies, their well-being, not simply their feelings. We're not interested in not criticizing people. We are fruit inspectors. And because we are fruit inspectors, we're looking at some of the fruit in the Black community that's rotten. And we're not going to leave it to other people to call it out while we sit around and make apologies for it. We're going to pretend to call it out. I mean, we're going to call it out, not just pretend that we don't see it. We're going to call it out, and not just call it out, reject it, and stop making people or stop allowing people to make us feel bad for addressing things that we can see are harming us. So we don't want to buy into the whole safe spaces anymore. We understand that this entire theme for the last 2 weeks is that language is the battlefield. Language is the battlefield. And as long as we allow them to flip the language, we're going to lose. We are going to lose, and we're going to look around 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and say, wow, what did we do wrong? When one of the things will be, if we don't understand that language is the battlefield, one of the things we will have done wrong is allowed them to change it and then shame us into not saying anything about it, not standing against it. We're not going to allow that to happen. We understand that words are being used to manipulate emotions and normalize lies. That's why you have very intelligent people sitting around accepting things that they know shouldn't be accepted. I've seen some very smart people say, well, if they identify as such, it is so. Well, if I identify as a bird, will you accept me flying over and shitting on your head? I identify as a bird, right? I don't think you would. I think if I tried it, it'd be a whole lot of flower bringing and sad song singing. Most people wouldn't allow that. However, when it comes to things that we think maybe aren't so harmful, we're normalizing lies. Language is the battlefield. And we are watching them shift the culture with these lies. We're shifting the culture. There was a time when the things that we are accepting now, we would never accept. Remember when you used to feel shame for doing things that you knew were wrong? I'm not even going to use a big example. Something small as not cursing on the church grounds. Remember when that was a thing? Now people are getting their purses snatched in the church parking lot, getting hit over the head in the church parking lot. It's gay pride flags waving in the front of the church. We used to be afraid to offend God or offend the church by doing things that we knew weren't smiled upon. But we've allowed them to shift culture because we've allowed them to change language. We used to outright call things a sin. Now you do it, everybody's coming for you, you're going to get canceled. And we've allowed that to be the culture. That you get canceled for saying what we know is right and calling out what we know is wrong. So we have to remember to push back. This is why I push back, because we know that words matter. The truth matters even more. And if we don't watch the words, they'll change and the truth will die. There's absolutely no way around it. I'm going to go through the comments because, again, I want y'all to drop in the comments what kind of stood out for you over the last 2 weeks and what you are taking away from this conversation, this war on words. I want to know what you think, what you thought about this entire series. Real Twin, says trans is not real. It's not. It's not real. We used to call them men in dresses. Now we say trans women are women. Trans men are men. The battlefield is in the language. Because once we start allowing them to say that, now we have real debates on whether trans women are women. And you have people with education, doctorates, telling you, well, they are, because that's how they identify. Again, if I put on a red suit, a beak, and start flapping around my yard, no one's going to say, oh, she's a cardinal. They're going to say she's nuts. But you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. And they're blurring the lines. When you go into clothing stores now, everything is blah. Different shades of blue or gray. Not even different shades, more of the darker shades. I was looking for clothes for a conference. I had the hardest time finding a pink dress. Everything was an ugly gray color. Just wanting to blur the lines. They want to blur the lines, and we're letting them. My truth equals my perspective of my firsthand and secondhand experiences. Unfortunately, perspective isn't reality. It's just perspective. Absolutely. Truth is God's perspective. And so I don't mind people saying my perspective or my experience, but I'm not going to let them get away with my truth. Because truth, by definition, is something that can be proven, something that is reality. So you can say my perspective, my experience, but cut out the whole my truth thing. I don't want to hear that anymore. And every time I hear it, all I hear is my truth. It just sounds weak and annoying. It's like my hand just automatically raised and want to, how you would, back slap your children when they did something they know they should not do. I start twitching when I hear my truth. And people say it so much. Adults, grown adults that have just accepted this new language. We didn't grow up with people saying my truth. It was a truth, and then it was a lie. And maybe this is where we are from allowing things said like white lies. What's a white lie? We tried to clean up what a lie was. A white lie. There is just a lie. There's the truth, and then there's the lie. No such thing as a white lie. But because we allow white lies, now we are facing my truth. We should have put our feet down a long time ago. We should have put our feet down at white lies, or our parents did. They did, and now we're here with my truth. Hola, Miguel. You were number 6 here. Okay, because people were saying, hey, where are y'all from yesterday? Miguel was in the argument yesterday. Trans kids is child abuse. Hi, Jimmy Traces. Absolutely. It's child abuse. allowing a child to go through the process leading to mutilation is child abuse. If that child starts taking puberty blockers and hormones at 12, when they are 18 and say, oh, wait, I don't want to do this, the damage is done. This is the truth that people need to know. The damage is done. If they are performing mastectomies on girls as young as 13, the damage is done. If you get 25 and decide, oh, wait a minute, I am a girl, I want to be a girl, I know I'm a girl, I want to get married and have babies, you're stuck with formula. You may not even be able to have children. The damage is done. But because we are so concerned about people's feelings, we want to provide them a safe space in their feelings. We aren't telling them the truth. Did you get my message about the 34-minute Dante Force? No, I didn't see that, titled Satanic Doctrine. I was telling you that I think links or outside links are blocked. So I don't know if I have them blocked here or not. Are you on like X or Instagram, or just email it to me? Because they may be blocked and actually putting them here so that people can't spam the channels. And I do think in the Fearless chat is blocked. Keep in mind that 19 times is not the same as 19%. 19 times higher than 100 is 1900 plus 100. 19% higher than 100 is 119. Yes, 19 times. He's talking about the rate of suicide in trans or so-called trans people. 19 times higher. That's a big deal. Safe space itself seems to be a war on words, because safe for who? Exactly. Safe for who? When we look around, it's not really safe for people because we aren't correcting them and telling them the truth. And we're pacifying people so much so that they don't even understand it's like they're forgetting the difference between right and wrong. We're so worried about their feelings, nobody's leading them in the right direction, not even parents. This war on authority, it's because of this, we're gentle parenting. And I get if you don't believe in whippings. My mom didn't believe in whippings. But that didn't mean that my childhood was absent of discipline. It wasn't absent of correcting me. I didn't get to just go through childhood doing whatever I wanted to do and not understanding the difference between right and wrong. Now kids are dressing themselves. I see them out in diapers and cowboy boots because they threw a fit. That's what they want to wear. Kids need structure. Kids need discipline, and kids need to be corrected and redirected. If not, they're going to grow up to be some hellion teenagers. And then once they're bigger than you, what are you going to do? Once they're stronger than you are, what are you going to do? So they have no authority in their homes, and then they're going to school not respecting authority. Telling the teacher, call my mama. Remember when the teacher would say, I'm going to call your mom, and you actually start to straighten up and thought to yourself, I better get in line? Because I was a chatty patty in school. I talked a lot. But let them say, Shamika, I've asked you 3 times to be quiet. I'm going to call your mama. I straightened up. Now the kids say, call my mama, because they know typically mama's going to come down to the school with a bra strap showing, in a bonnet, and lay somebody out for calling her in the first place. Won't even be focused on the fact that her child was misbehaving. She's irritated that you called her. And God forbid she took off of her CNA job to come down. Now I'm being petty. This a little jokey joke, it's a little jokey joke. But kids aren't even afraid of authority. There's no respect of authority. And so then we wonder why we see them, if they are stopped by the police, there's no respect. And they immediately escalate the situation. I'm not saying police should just be able to do what they want to do to people. Don't get it twisted. But there's an element of respect. And when you elevate the situation from the jump, how can you be surprised of the outcome? There's no respect of authority. And so when you hear somebody saying, just make it home, we'll deal with it the right way, you think that's weak because you're ready to, nuck if you buck. Passionate Dreamer says, good job on Fearless. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Stimulated Student says, the truth won't die, but we will. There will always be a revival or a remnant at least. We certainly will die. If you alter language, you alter reality, and that's witchcraft. We don't understand that words are spells. And if they get you to say the foolishness over and over and over again, they're winning. It's witchcraft, and we have to reject it. The trans concept marginalizes women, and ironically, women support it. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? I remember, it's been about 7 or 8 years. I remember talking about the fact that I could see this coming down the pike. And it was mostly women arguing with me about it, that it was okay. And I kept saying, if we continue to accept this as normal, we're going to end up with a bunch of men who don't want to be men, which will create a bunch of single women. Like, who are you going to get with? You want a best friend to go get their toes done with you with the penis? That's not a good husband. He's not going to be a good husband and father. If you want to do away with masculinity, we are going to suffer. But it was the women arguing with me the most. I literally got kicked off of Facebook. And this is why I say so many times that the only women even worth dealing with are the ones that understand what feminism has done to everybody, but especially to women. Because some women are just so comfortable with feminism. They're comfortable with all of the ideas that feminism push, that to me, they are just a waste of time. You can't even argue with these women. Their brains are warped. It's really like you have to just shake the dust off your feet, and just go on. Because they will argue you down about something that's harming them. The amount of women that I see caping up for trans women, men in dresses, is crazy to me. But these same women will then turn around and call masculinity toxic. So as long as a man is effeminate and he presents himself in a sweet, docile way, that's all you can really accept and applaud. You have to say to yourself, something has to be wrong with my thinking when I think that way. Here I am applauding this man in a dress. Hey, do it, girl. I see you, girl. Walking them heels, girl. To a man, saying all that to a man. But then a man that's actually embracing being a man, he's toxic. And I don't need him. If y'all don't see something wrong with that, I don't know. You may be beyond help. Next week's show, try to get Dante Fortson on his video yesterday. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Hits on what you've been talking about. Oh, satanic doctrine. I would love to talk to him. If you don't mind, just send it to me so I can figure out how to get in contact with him. Thomas Bailey says, missed a lot of the show. My girlfriend failed to tell me she had unplugged the deep freezer, and I just now found out when Walmart delivery shows up. Oh, so you had some work to do. Earl Grey Base is telling you, Thomas, don't be frustrated. She's sure it was an honest mistake. It's on YouTube. Okay, I'm going to look that up. Thank you so much. Spanking children as a first resort is lazy parenting, but I'm not totally against it's called for at times. It is lazy parenting. And a lot of times it comes out of frustration. I definitely think it's lazy parenting, and it just really shows how it shows the lack of ability in the parent. Because are you not able to have a conversation? Or it's just easier? I'm frustrated. Nothing in my life is going the way that I want it to right now. Here's this person that's defenseless, that's smaller than me. Let me just beat them. Instead of trying to have a conversation with them and redirect them in another way. And I will say a lot of Christian parents, especially in the Black church, because those are the ones I attended the most. They will always use the scripture, spare the rod, hateth the child, or spare the rod, some people say spoil the child. But they didn't really understand that shepherds had a rod and a staff. You know, we say thy rod and thy staff comforts me. The staff of a shepherd, when it came to the sheep, it had the hook on it, and it was used when the sheep needed to be pulled, like stay with the fold, stay with the rest of the sheep. Let's, keep us all going in the same direction. Let's stay together. And the rod was used to beat off other animals trying to harm the sheep. It wasn't for the shepherd to use the rod to club the sheep to death. It was used to beat anything trying to harm the sheep. And so I feel like when we say the whole spare the rod, hated the child, or spare the rod, spoil the child. A lot of parents have taken that as, let me just beat this child to death or into submission. When there are times when you need to understand, you're supposed to be beating the enemy that's trying to come in and harm your child. In whatever way you need to fight that enemy. Hey, Pumpkin. You need fathers in the house when the children hit puberty. I wasn't scared of my mom after 12 years old. And a lot of children say, even if they tried to spank them, it don't hurt. You definitely need men in the house when it comes to men. What are you going to do? Either you're going to then feel like you have to beat and fight that child all the time, effeminize him by verbally castrating him, because if you can't win physically unless you have exerted some type of unnatural control over that child. And we talked a couple weeks ago what happens when there is a single mom trying to raise boys. Many times they exert unnatural control, which then has mental effects on that male child. So we definitely understand men are very important, and we have to fight the lie that they aren't. Earl Grey Bay says now the parents will come up to the school and try to fight the teacher. Absolutely. I've watched it happen. Truth. It's the battle between good and evil. When I was young, I thought it wasn't real, but now it's in our face. We must decide. Christ will come in again in glory to judge. There will be division. Hey, E. Will, where you been? I haven't seen you in a while unless you just didn't comment. Stimulated students, I'd like to be a guest sometime if I can get a day off. What's your schedule? Because I would love for you to be a guest. Please, what is your schedule? Send me something some way or the other. I do believe my email is attached to my YouTube page. If you can get a day off, it'd be nice for you to come in with the whole men's panel. You are a man, right? If not, you're a very logical woman. I'm pretty sure you're a man. Thanks for the encouragement. I wish I knew Hermana Shamika. I figured since you're more into the YouTube streets, you would know. Oh, I'm just another dinosaur boomer listener. Yeah, I'm not in the YouTube streets as much as I could or should be. I'm learning though. I'm learning. Beating kids is a pathetic route. I never beat not one of my 4 kids. I talk and lead by examples. I never seen it work my whole life. They are not animals. And that's something we definitely have to learn and push more of. Come on now, though. You know Negroes struggle with context. Yeah, that is true. I don't know what I said to make you say that, but that's absolutely true. Weapon, why word or language, attack verbally. William Graves. Teacher teaches students to happy, angry, emotional thing in body who get angry. William, I'm not sure what you're trying to say. Sharisa, you are preaching today. Thy rod and staff. I wish you would have told me earlier. I wish I would have learned it earlier. I would have. As I learn, I try to share. Wish I had learned it earlier. DEI was just rainbow colored affirmative action. Forced pronouns, drag queen story hour grants, and quotas for guys in heels. President Trump flushed that clown card so real talent can shine. Yeah, DEI, I love it when Jason would say DIE, because everything we've allowed DEI to infiltrate has died. It has died. It's not good for anybody. Side note, did y'all see that Cracker Barrel will now be keeping their logo? Did I talk about that already? And I feel like, we did our little part in it when we spoke against it earlier this week or last week or whatever. They are keeping their logo. This team full of women that came together to decide they wanted to remove the man off the logo. And she said, oh, everybody's, really accepting it. Once those stocks began to plummet, they changed their minds. So I feel like, we shook our head and spoke out and got some things done. Oh, you had to get a new phone. I need a new phone as well. So if anybody want to drop me a super chat, just know it's going towards a new phone eventually. Actually, right now it's probably going towards bills. Thomas Bailey, my dad would hit me with his belt when I was like 5, but after that, never had to again. My grandmother talks about, I love sitting around listening to her and her siblings talking about how their father used to take like just the tip of the belt, and it was like real light and it hurt no one. But because he held this amount of respect, they understood we better tighten up, even though he's just touching us with the tip of the belt and it's not really doing anything. Oh, you explained the context of the rod. Yes, you're right. Yeah, you're right. It is the word of God. I think I scrolled past that. But yeah. I'm trying. We're gonna all get there. Alicia says, got here late. Sounds like a great show. Alicia, we just summed up the last 2 weeks, especially because I won't be here tomorrow. We talked about what we went over, and now I'm just asking people to kind of let me know what stuck with you during this series, The War on Words. I never understood the Cracker Barrel logo thing. The man is literally yellow and brown. Right. And it's so funny because people always, take the cracker and just put it with white, when the actual definition of Cracker Barrel means unsophisticated, simple, plain, which is why the actual restaurants were just so plain. Like you could go and sit in a rocking chair or the old country feel. This goes back to stimulated students. Like, we know people just don't get it, but they make it what they want it to be. And so they felt like, oh yeah, let's get this white man, like you said, it's yellow and brown, but let's get this white man off the logo, and the name is still Cracker Barrel because of the actual definition of Cracker Barrel, but it's not about crackers. Sorry, white folks. Don't know if that's slur, but you've heard me say worse. You need to be on Big O Live app. I don't know what that is. Dang, where's Lotus Flower? Asino saying Lotus wilted. I'm gonna wait for her to tell me when she can come on the show. And that's what I'm waiting on. I'm for sure a man. I'll send you a DM on IG. Thank you. I'm a man. Yes, I am. And I care. Oh, Asino. Leftists see racism in everything, especially white men. I think you're saying white men or white you. Men. There we go. I see it after that. Yes, they do. And it doesn't matter how you live or how you treat people. You are just automatically racist because you're white, especially a white man. And I have some people that I've befriended over the years, and I'm just like, if this person is racist, I've never seen it. But I'm supposed to hate them simply because of their skin? It makes no sense to me. Oh my God, it's 3 o'clock. Sharisa Jones says, Earl, we are having a great day. Be quiet. Earl Greta Bay, she's saying, don't ask where Lotus Flower is. We're having a good day. But please go back and watch yesterday's show. I need to figure out how I can make it so the comments show in the replay. I know that's somewhere in the settings. Again, I'm not in these YouTube streets as much as I should be, so I don't know how to do that. I know there's a way, and I'm going to figure it out, hopefully before next week, so that when people watch the replay, they can enjoy some of the spirited conversation that takes place. Again, I just want to remind y'all that I will not be here tomorrow. Diddy girl, I am white. I love your show because you say it like it is. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I won't be here tomorrow, y'all. I'm going to New York. Wish me luck. As a church baby, I'll say we took the rod of correction thing completely out of context. I used to get worn out, LOL, right? We took it completely out of context. This is so terrible, but I have seen children whose parents, and when I was working at the school, we would have to call in social services. I have seen a parent that I knew was in the church, that I knew was hanging on to every word the pastor said, and spare the rod, spoil the child was one of the things they were hanging on, would come down to the school, and I've watched them bloody their children's noses. Craziness. Alicia says, can you do a show on how the Black race embraced the use of the N word and the B word has hurt us? Yes, I'm going to write that down because I can incorporate it in some of the other series that I would like to do. So yes, and Alicia, if you would like to ever be a guest, just reach out to me. Oh, what is the name of the event? I live in New York. You do? Good. Because I know nothing about it. It's actually been some years before I've been there, and I'm not excited. But it's in Washington Park. Do you know where that is? It's going to be Saturday. I think they want you to start coming at 12. The event starts at 1. Saturday. So it's going to be a rally, but then there's also going to be a debate table where people can actually toss us whatever they're behind the kids is probably what it's going to be. And then we have to figure whether or not we're going to be like Thomas and kiss it or not. So yes, if you could come out, that'll be great. Please try and show up. And I know I said I was going to send you something on X, but I couldn't remember your name on X. If you will, like, ping me or something. Anyway, y'all, thank you for joining us in our series, in our War on Words. I do want you to understand that the battle isn't over. It's not over. This is where you kind of got your tools, and now you go out into the world, and we're going to stick together, and we're going to come against the foolishness. The series may be ending, but the fight for truth continues. If they control the words, they control the narrative. And if they control the narrative, they control you. Don't let anyone, had to write this out so I can remember what I really want to say. Don't let anyone redefine truth for you. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Thank you for walking with me through this series, shaking your head with me through this series. Again, if you're watching this in the replay, drop me a comment. Tell me which episode hit you the hardest, and stay tuned because the next conversation is just another beginning. I love y'all. See y'all Monday for something fresh that has caused me to shake my head.